fish beautiful. Black fish beautiful.
Black is so beautiful.
Sometimes my daughter sees spirits in her sleep. I see boogeymen when I try. I close my eyes and see images of Step and Fetchit and Amos and Andy. Damn these visions that keep me awake at night. Visions like airplanes from above spraying the sky with ignorance like pesticide. And the repressive residential red lines make it too hard to hide for too long. And all these beautiful black bodies are scared because we don't know how bare we must become not to succumb to the heat of the hovering sun that keeps closing in. And aren't you tired of running for shade? And aren't you tired of being hustled and played? And aren't we all tired of crying about how hard it is to be black in America, even if it looks like we've got it made? But freedom has its limits, so here we are. Tear-streaked and salt-stained faces. Traces of trauma and pain lace our DNA like our black pride is cut and laced with self-hate. And we still think it's dope. Just like the music we're programmed to celebrate. Can you tell me the fate of a people who consciously take the bait and embrace the very traits placed upon them by their captors who by design are inclined to keep them believing they're second rate? I'll wait. We used to fight for our freedom, but now it's like we fight for the right to be dumb for free. Word to Ice Life, hear me. We are being hustled, y'all. We are being played. Our culture on display like the slave trade for the world to devour. We are a delicious delicacy, but we're left to feed on hopelessness and grief, and the belief that beef with beautiful people who look like us should render them obsolete. Hey yo, grape Kool-Aid tastes great. Yeah, do you realize it's sweetened with self-destruction and low self-esteem? So dreams dismantle as we drink, and desires dampen as we forget the beauty in our blackness, and how we are so rich we remain America's top commodity crop. And it's the evil behind that fear of our melanin that has conditioned the masses to believe we are the boogeymen. Sometimes my daughter sees spirits in her sleep, and sometimes so do I. I close my eyes and see images of powerfully proud people who look like me. Damn these visions of black beauty that keep me awake at night. Visions like fathers who dare show that affection and masculinity do coexist and kiss their wives, daughters, and sons, so they know not the sweet, bitter taste of toxicity graciously offered by hurt people who hurt. Restful sleep for me at night is often averted by visions of fives on the backhand side becoming gripped and grasped hand clasps, and the greeting of eyes as if to simply say, yo, I see you, salute. Visions of black love, too absolute for hate to penetrate. Sisters harnessing what was once called sass, now called steadfast, holding each other up so selflessly, no man of any color would want the smoke associated with the okie doke. Black lives really do matter. I'm seeing where black is beautiful is not a slogan. It's our mantra, reminding us that radical self-love is the most revolutionary act that we can imbue. And we unabashedly birth revolutionaries who radiantly refine the art of recycling dollars so that investing in young black entrepreneurs is believed to be a social duty and a spiritual quest. Self-sufficiency puts restless Rose and Greenwood spirits at peace, knowing that the Black Wall Streets weren't slain in vain. In fact, in my vision, Black Wall Streets are the norm, protected by the red, black, and green with the Robert F. Williams lean. We reshape what it means to bling, make it rain on our communities to sustain our empowerment, So sporting brand names is seen as corny. We patronize businesses based on their behavioral engagements in black communities. Because our communities are now designed to be where you see spiritual, creative, and financial wellness align. The spirits tell me now is the time that we decide collectively how much more beautiful do we want to be. Black Fist beautiful.
Black fist beautiful.
Black Fist beautiful.
Black fist beautiful. Black fist beautiful. Black fist beautiful. Black is beautiful.
Black is beautiful.
Black is beautiful.
Black is so beautiful.
Black is beautiful.
What else is beautiful?
White.
Okay.
Rainbow. And brown and peanut butter is beautiful.
Peanut butter. Peanut butter people are beautiful.
Yeah. And chocolate people and cappuccino people are beautiful.
And that's why they can't call us nigga, because it hurts. When a black man calls me nigga, it doesn't hurt because he has no power to me. He has no space in my divine imagination. When a white person does it, I'm wounded. And then this notion that, we flipped it and we made it mean something else. Why would I borrow a term from someone who hates me when I'm trying to imagine how to speak my camaraderie to my brother? Because why in the world are we consumed with getting, quote unquote, getting back at them? It's kind of like, nah, you thought this was ugly and I made it something great.
LaRon, they got a commercial coming for 1:40. Can we go on in a 1:40? Less than a 1:40. How much? In 1 minute.
As I travel backwards through time, I search to rescue all my heroes. And I find myself in the Underground Railroad, standing side by side with Harriet Tubman as she decides whether to go left or right tonight. And as the barking dogs approach from the south, I rub the clothes of 1,000 slaves on my body and hand her a flashlight. And I run. I run till I get to southern Mississippi in the mid-1950s, and I'm standing on the front porch of Emmett Till's house just before 2 a.m. as they drag him from his bed. And all of a sudden, instead of Emmett being found dead, there were 4 decapitated whiteheads, and I'm standing there drenched in blood. And the dogs are barking again. So I run. I run till I get to Jackson, Mississippi, and it's June 12th, 1963. And this white man is standing in the bushes.
Wait a minute.
Social media's gonna have a good time. So I grew up watching, there was different strokes, right?
Yeah.
There was Facts of Life, it was Webster.
Oh, yeah.
There was Jefferson, Sanford and Son.
Good times.
So I grew up watching these shows because, like everyone else, I was so starved to see black people on television.
Mm-hmm.
But they weren't necessarily shows that I ever really liked.
Mm-hmm.
Like they didn't. The shows never resonated with me, and I knew that I was watching them just because I wanted to see myself, see people who look like me on television. And I remember when I booked Cosby, I remember feeling like, oh wow, like I relate to this show. I relate to this family, and my family looked nothing like the Huxtables. From every aspect, we were not them at all. But I think what I came to realize was this was the first time where I was watching. I say watch. I was a part of it, but I was still a viewer. But this was the first time there was a sitcom experience with Black people where the humor was not predicated upon being Black.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Like,
all right. Okay, listen, everybody. We have gotten the messages. We've seen the posts. So on this night of remembrance, in so many ways, Malcolm really left the mic on because his message, the person who he was, it lives on. It speaks to how he reshaped the way that young Black men are seen on TV. He carried the torch with grace to show us how to shift the national imagination, even to his adulthood, with pure consistency. He would always say, he would tell all of us, listen, going for the parts, for the ratings, that's never going to replace his sense of self. And that's why he did the podcast in the first place, to shape the narrative about how they see us. I co-hosted Not All Hood with Malcolm, and I'm here with Lane Fontes. He's the executive producer of the podcast, as well as Troy Harris Jr., producer and creative director. And we spent a lot of time with him, so we're sharing some private video. We want you to share with us. We want this to be a whole thing where we all just convene around what we know about this man. What we always like to say is, whatever you thought good about Malcolm, like that friend in your head, if you didn't know him, all those good things, they were wonderfully true. They really were. And I know that Troy and Lane can agree with me based upon just some of the memories they've had too.
Lane, you're muted.
Oh, Lane, I think you're muted.
Sorry. Can you hear me now?
That's all right.
There we go. That was a rookie mistake. So first, comrades, thank you for showing up today. We're here because Malcolm mattered. He mattered to all of us, not just for what he created, but for how he made us feel heard, valued. His life was rooted in love, truth, deep belief that we could all be better. So as individuals and as a community. So today's a circle that, a space that we sit in, just to talk about Malcolm moments, some gratitude, some reflection, and, process this together.
Yeah.
So we definitely want to first thank you guys for joining us here on our platform to make sure that we just created this space, like Candace said, to just share good moments and good times that Malcolm kind of helped provide for all of us, be it on the TV screen or right here in person. So thank you and welcome.
Yeah. Now, for those people who are watching online, you can go to our Not All Hood platforms, and there is a link where you can get on there. For those people, we're simulcasting on a few places. So for those people who are not on with us yet, all right, because you can go live with us and speak, just know that if you go to our platforms, there is a link where you can come in and you can speak with us. So just go to our platforms, whether it's on YouTube, whether it's on Instagram, right, folks? I'm asking Lane and Troy here, and you can join us in this conversation. I want to just make sure that people know too that this is going to be some appointed guests, if you will, as well as some people like you good people who we've been hearing from so much. We actually are going to bring in Torre. I think that Torre is ready to come in. Let me speak to my producer here. We're going to bring him in. And we're going to bring in a lot of people on this evening. We're going to bring in people to talk about grief. We're going to bring in people who know Malcolm personally. For those of you who are familiar with the podcast, there are many, many people who are going to be on here tonight who've been on the past podcast or who are even scheduled for the podcast that we were going to have. We were going to be recording on August the 21st. So that all of this is a process that we are working through. And we really are working through it with you. And that's why we want to commune in and around this. Is Torre ready to come up on the big screen? If not, listen, we could talk this whole way through with other people. That is no problem. But I think that Torre will be popping up with us. That being said, those of you who want to comments, we're going to read some of the comments. Hey, how are you doing?
Good.
Yeah,
How are you? How are you?
You know, I'm not going to speak for us all, but it has been a very rough week. But we are here, and it is amazing to celebrate Malcolm. I know that you know him personally on an intimate level, and we were having you on to really give us the cultural context and some memories that you have of Malcolm, a space for you to share.
Oh my God. I mean, we did a great interview last year on my podcast Torre show. I want to get into that a little bit, but like just starting from the beginning, I am 6 months younger, maybe 7 months younger than Malcolm. So what his character Theo was going through was the same things that I was. So I saw him as a brother, which is a testament to his ability to play the role, to get me to see him as a kin. And I mean, everybody loved him. Everybody thought like he was cool. Actually, he told me he did not think that Theo was cool, and he asked the writers, can you make him more cool? Because I think he's corny. And as an adult, he understood the value of having Theo in that lane of being a little more corny, which is what fueled him to be really liked all over the place. I can tell you how liked he was. We were at the same Jack and Jill party when we were both, I believe we were juniors in high school. It was in New York City. This was like the tri-state area, like all the Jack and Jill chapters from around, like come together for this party at the Copa, the big annual like tri-state gathering. I was from one of the Boston chapters, and I remember being there, and then, like the dance floor was like below the other floor, so you'd like walk down into it, and you could walk down into it from any of the squares. And when Malcolm arrived, everybody's head turned because this is the Cosby Show. I think was third season at that point, so they were hot as fish grease. So everybody turned. He walked into the dance floor with his arms up like this, like I am here, and like every girl turned to start being dancing with him, even if she wasn't near him. She was like, her. So none of the guys were like, so we have nobody. He just took basically all the girls at the party. But he was such a nice guy. When we talked, he talked a lot about Theo is not going to be my zenith. This is not going to be the end of my career. Like I'm going to go much further than this. And he said something really interesting too about how he got started with people around him noticing him as a child actor exuding it factor. And I think for sure that was the case. But you don't usually hear people say that about themselves. But he's saying to me that he had it factor without communicating ego or airs, but just like this is one of the tools that I happen to have. I could speak another language, I could walk, and I could like project a certain it factor. And it wasn't like I was the main. I mean, everything was very down to earth and humble, even though he had come from so high. um, I found him to be really interesting, really smart. We actually had a great little moment too about Meghan Markle because people were talking shit about she's tried to hide her blackness. I'm like, I don't think so. I'm like, you were on Suits with her. Did you know she was black? And he said, well, of course I did, but more importantly, she knew. And I'm
Mm.
like, that means you took the time to see her and really like check in with like who she was as a person. But also I'm like, that's the key answer. Y'all out here talking about, well, I don't think like she knew that she was black. Like, so just, it's just a fascinating conversation and an honor to meet him, and just a lovely, lovely guy.
Yeah. It's interesting you said he checked in with people. Malcolm did a lot of that. He did a lot of checking in with people. If you look at the posts online, he was always following up. He was really detailed and intentional with really connecting and checking in with people.
But I think like you can be a good actor by being a student of people. And I think that's partly what he's bringing to bear, that he's like looking deeply at people and really paying attention to others. And I think some of us get stuck only thinking about ourselves. And, you know, it's admirable when you can spend more time thinking about others. And I think that he was able to like see others in a way that allowed him to really, you know, replicate other people. We actually had a really open and frank conversation about Malcolm and Eddie, which was totally different than his Cosby experience.
Yeah.
We
Break, can
hated
you
each other.
break it down? Because, you know, these are the things that people should know about.
He said we hated each other, and referring to him and Eddie. And the way he explained it was that Malcolm had come from the Cosby School, in that on the Cosby Show was very important to show Black people in a positive, uplifting, empowering light. And that show was amazing for that. And he wanted to bring that forward through the rest of his television life. And he wanted Malcolm and Eddie to be like these. And he's like, on Cosby Show, we had mostly white writers. We got shitty scripts, and he had to go in there and like change stuff. Like, so don't think like everything was just handed to us. So, you know, it seems like Eddie, per Malcolm's description, came from more of the Richard Pryor school of things. And I am the biggest Richard Pryor fan there is, but I think by that he meant just go for the funny. And I could see where Eddie would be like, let's just make him laugh. And Malcolm would be like, but we could also uplift and educate and do so much more within the broadcast and the fabric of, and Eddie being like, nigga, can we just make him laugh? You know what I mean? And like, but Malcolm held to his principles and the way that he felt like television should be done, which is that it should be uplifting to Black people. And that was a big source of the conflict between them.
Yeah. Listen, I know that you have to get out of here and we've got other guests. I just wanna thank you, but we can certainly identify, especially when we select guests, which by the way, Tori was gonna be one of our next guests mid-August. But you know, Lane, if you just could explain how the guest selection process was very intentional, because Malcolm will be like, no, we're not having, we want that person. What do they
It was
represent?
always very intentional, and sometimes it was very grueling, right? It could go on for hours, but honestly, we put a lot of thought to it. Malcolm put a lot of thought to it. So, you know, so even pulling you out of the hat, it was like, oh, he's perfect. Actually, we didn't think too much about you, actually. It was just like,
yeah, you were not a 3-hour person. And
no, you were not. You were a quick,
And
we kind
you
of
weren't,
moved over and brushed over that.
Pause, brother. But it's such an honor thank you, for Malcolm to think that of me, because I thought that of him for my show. And the entire time that I knew who he was, I thought of him, you know, from teenagers as like, you know, just dope person, you know, thought the world of him. And then to meet him and like, and for you to say like he wanted to talk to me like that, like, come on, forget about it. Oh my God.
And another thing he was very big and intentional on is, well, what are we going to talk about? And what's going to be the lesson for our audience? But again, with you, that didn't occur at all. It was like, let's go, greenlit, let's do it.
Right.
Oh,
So
that means a lot. That means a lot.
We thank you for tonight, sir. And we're going to let you go, and we'll see you next time. We'll be in touch.
Thank you so much. So sorry for your loss.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. As we move on, we know that there are some people that want to jump on. I think that do we have Danny still? I mean, we're talking about someone from the community who wants to get on. Is Danny? We can pop up Danny. Listen, folks, when you get on, you have about a minute and a half. We know that's not a lot, but it allows us to get more people on. Hello, how are you doing?
I was muted. Hi.
Hi, it's good to see you. It's good to see you with a smile on your face. I know why Danny got in. Danny got in because you work on The Resident and you were Malcolm's makeup artist. And let me tell you, makeup artists will get to know a lot of information. Very intentional and intentional. We just open up to makeup artists. And I know that you had a lot of thoughts about Malcolm and were very close with him over the years.
Yes, I was. Malcolm was a phenomenal person. He was a phenomenal human being. So I wrote this post about how I felt about him on my page, but I wrote about his character today specifically for this, and I wanted to share that with you guys.
All right.
Let's do it.
So I wrote that he was sophisticated, regal, intelligent, multifaceted, honest, disciplined, and authentic. These are my favorite adjectives that I like to use to describe him. His personality and smile was infectious. The level of integrity and grace that he continually showcased could have actually been a case study.
Mm.
Um, his compromise couldn't touch him with a 1,000-foot pole. He stood firm on core principles that mattered most to him, like culture, character, love, vulnerability, and masculinity. He handled people with caution and care, regardless of their tenure with him. His light ignited hearts and the hearts and minds of millions across the world. He was indeed one of a kind, a magnificent example of brilliance personified. His legacy is a standard of excellence that is both inspiring and impactful. Although God called him home, his purpose, kindness, and impact will live on. Rest well, MJW.
Mm, mm, mm. I also know that, Tori talked about him going into writer's room and saying, "Hey, this script right here, yeah, not so much."
Oh
He did
yeah.
the same. He did this. You
Oh yeah.
saw him, yeah.
Oh yeah. So they would write something. So, in our industry, they have these things called sides. So, which is basically like what you're talking about for the day. So he'd look at it. And then if it was something that was ridiculous, he'd like storm in there and he's like, well, man, they're going to change this. Like if it was not about, if it wasn't about what was effective for the culture, everything that he did was intentional. I think I heard like Lane say that that was a core principle of his. So it was bigger than him. So if he's seen something that didn't sit well with him, he was gonna amplify it. He was gonna change it. So it really wasn't about him. How does this translate to the culture? How does this benefit Black men? How does this benefit Black women? He was very much that.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I also know that he was about family, and I know that's going to be a
Mhm.
theme for here. He was about family. So, I know that
Yes.
people, when they hear about, um, his passing and all of these mixed reviews, I mean, the one thing that we just need to explain is how much family meant to this man.
Man.
I mean, there was never a day, never a time. He wrote me once and he said, "Am I mentioning my family too much on this?" I said, "Go with it, brother. That is okay. Go with it. People want to hear that." I was like,
Yeah.
"Tell your story. It is okay to
He
mention your wife and daughter every other minute."
he absolutely adored his daughter. He adored his mom, he adored his wife. Like that's just who he was. His dad, he would always, talk about the man that he is and, the origin of his name. And he loved family, but also he loved people. So he's the person that, when he would go out somewhere and, he would be dog tired because Malcolm is like always falling asleep somewhere on set. He's like off in a corner somewhere asleep because he's a million and one things like juggling in the air. He's like, he has a set
Mhm.
at a show. He's like practicing for one thing and he's like reading lines for another show. And while he's on a show and he just had all these things going on. And so he'd be dog tired and he never called his fans fans. He never did that. He never did that. So if someone would come up to him and be like, "Oh my God, Theo," in the industry that I work in, if you call an actor by their name, like their stage name, they hate that. He was never that. So if you'd be like, "Oh my God, Theo, can I get a selfie?" He'd say, "Sure,
Mhm. Every
sure."
time.
you're gonna never see him attached to a scandal. He would never take a role that was like, that misappropriated the culture. Like you won't see him playing a drug dealer, or you'll never see him playing, womanizer, or anything that misappropriates or any misrepresentation of a black male or the culture, at large. He'd never do it.
Mm-hmm.
Danny, I want to thank you. I want to thank you for being with us
Thank you
tonight.
for having me.
All right, all right. We'll talk
We
soon.
appreciate you.
Yes,
Thank you,
indeed.
Danny.
Yeah, I know that we in the back of all this we have LaRon, and he is working us through those folks who are going to be on air. After this next guest, we are really going to pull people from the community, or do we want to do that now? I just want to make sure that I know exactly where we are.
Pull one more. Let's pull one more. Let's pull
Yeah. So, Dr. Jay Barnett, is he in the house already? Many of you might know Dr. Jay Barnett from Just Hill, bro. All right, I see you shaking your head, Troy. Yeah, he's the one. He's the one, because what we are experiencing is a collective grief. I finally kind of came up for air today to call many people back. And the people who I was on the phone with who did not know Malcolm personally, they were crying hard, crying, and they were just so profoundly moved by who he was as a person. And I think that that's also the effect that we saw, Lane, when we would go out, because people weren't just screaming at him like the Beatles. They were like, "I am proud of you, like my son, my brother, my person." That's exactly how he was.
It was. It was. And
All right, real quick. I'm trying to get Jason on.
Yes,
So give me a moment.
sure, Dr. J. That's all right. Go ahead, Lane. You were talking about,
oh
how
no,
people.
I was going to springboard of what you said. Like sometimes, honestly, being out with Malcolm, it was like being out with the Beatles. Sometimes, the moment that someone recognizes them, and it was like a magnet. But it was always great praise, and it was always the conversation of how you changed my life. You know,
Mm-hmm.
um, and it was moving.
Yeah, yeah. Troy, you remember that time where we had a guest and he was actually moved by Bill Cosby, the Cosby Show, the history of it, and he broke down crying. And then what did
Uncle
Malcolm do?
Malcolm actually, is Uncle Mike, is Ray Daniels' uncle. Malcolm
Yeah,
actually called Bill Cosby on the phone right away because his story resonated with the story that Bill Cosby was showing at the time about people in the Navy. Uncle Mike was in the Navy at the time, so he was able to just sit there and talk to him. I want to say for about 5 to 10 minutes,
yeah,
and that to me was so golden. But it kind of just showed and personified the person that Malcolm is
Mhm.
yeah,
And it's not
absolutely.
something that Malcolm usually did either. So it was
at
funny
all.
when he did that. It was so quiet because I remember you saying, "I thought he had a doctor's appointment and he was talking to his doctor about something," because he said, "Hold on, doctor," and then he
Right,
came back
right.
and he handed over the phone and it was Bill Cosby on the phone.
Dr. Bill Cosby. Right, right.
That's
Yeah,
right.
I was mistaken. I said, wait, there's a problem. There's a doctor. He's speaking to a doctor. He's speaking to a doctor. I was all wrong. But, what he did for that man in that moment, after he got off, he said, I've never done that before. Right? Because I'm sure a
Mhm.
lot of people come to him
No.
and say, oh, ooh, ooh, ooh. But at that point, he was like, this man who's broken down in tears, Malcolm was a connector.
Mhm.
Malcolm was a
Literally.
connector of people. He would see something, he would see somebody, and he would say, you know what? I've got something for you. I've got help for you. I've got a person for you. Oh, good. We've got someone on here. It's good to see you. We
That,
would love to
that's
hear your
Bear.
thoughts. Uh-oh.
It's hard to hear you. I know this is Big Bear though.
Uh-oh.
How
We're
you
having
doing?
a little problem hearing you. Want to get a little closer for us? He's almost there.
Yeah.
All right.
Come in a little closer.
No, it's
We
not
lost.
him. It's on our end. It's not capturing his sound for some reason.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, that's
Yeah.
okay. The beat goes on as we talk. Because, you know, Malcolm definitely was a connector of people, and we saw that all the time. You know, when we would have our podcast, people would come and record. And when they would record, they would always stay a little while, right? I know Troy loves that because they felt it felt like home, you know, and that really was in large part because of Malcolm, and he would stay and he would engage for a very long time thereafter. All right, can we have you talk and we'll get a test on you, sir? Okay, it's still an issue on our end, Laron?
Oh, let me.
Yes, we can hear you.
No, go ahead, sir. We heard you.
Yeah,
All right,
we
go
heard
ahead.
you.
Sir, good to see you. The mic is open for you to share about Malcolm.
Oh, now we can't anymore.
Okay, we can hear you.
We can hear you, Big Bear.
Yes. Is that you, Candace?
Yes, it
that's
is.
Candace.
We can hear you, Big Bear. Okay. I met Malcolm in 1990. My friend and brother Barshaw was doing a video, and Malcolm was the director. And one of the cameras broke down, and so we were able to talk. And it was just amazing that I'm meeting this young man. He's younger than me, but I watched him on TV, and now we're sitting here talking, and he was just the humblest person. Asked us if we wanted to come down to the Cosby Show, and we went down there. I met Mr. Cosby and everybody, and I can't even remember which episode it was we went for the taping, but we stayed connected. He plugged me in to the photographer that I got my headshot, you know, my Instagram, Big Bears everywhere. I got my headshot on there. And he started this podcast. And we reconnected last year at the live. I think it might have been the first live taping of the podcast.
Yep, in New Jersey.
Like, it was like we just saw each other the week before. And from that, we exchanged numbers again, and we stayed in contact at least every couple of weeks we talked. And I knew about the vacation. We had talked about it to one of the events. But tragically, you know, my son Shaheem died by suicide, and we started a foundation on my son and I have been talking about him bringing the band to one of our events. And when I got the news, I got home from work and I took a nap. And when I woke up, my phone had like 50, 60 messages. When I looked, I was like, nah, somebody playing around. Then I made my phone calls to people. And I got the news. Today's Friday. I'm still in the fog. I'm working now, going to do some medical. I'm still in the fog about everything. And, you know, it's just unbelievable. He was a very humble guy, gracious. He made you feel, you know, more important. It was like a couple of times he would text me or call me like, yo, man, you know, apologize when I get back to school. And I was like, man, I already know the skills you got. You'll get it. It was just, that was just his character. He wanted you to feel good.
That's right. That's right. And you know what? Looking at you, I now remember you.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Yeah.
Well, you remember Big Bear.
That's how I knew exactly who he was as soon as he came on.
The albums that he did and the poetry that he's done. Now that's gonna be out there even more. It's like that. Why couldn't the flowers and everything have been done while he was here? You know, more group of us knew about all that. Now the mass is gonna know.
Well, I want to jump in because we have, you know, we have space for other folks to also share stories like Like you, I actually have some great pictures of you I want to send you from that day. But we are going to let you go now. We have other people that are on. We just want to thank you so much for being with us tonight.
Thank you, Big Bear.
We
Thank you.
appreciate you.
Thank you.
All right. Yeah, I'll reach out to him. So I do have some good pictures. It came back to me. All right, Dr. J. Barnett is coming up next. As we work up, our next person is going to share some personal stories or just, what they loved about Malcolm. Remember him. Dr. J. Barnett, is he available? I think that he is on the line. But his story was like many, many stories. I mean, it could be just years going by, and Malcolm would take you back into his fold. We saw it a lot of times, and I do remember them. I mean, they embraced, they looked at each other. I remember that very well. I've got some great pictures. We did a lot of live events where we could see people come out. That time we were out with Raheem Devon in New Jersey, and we were talking about issues about mental health and understanding where we came from and what's in our DNA and how do we fix problems. Again, something in terms of a show content that Malcolm curated, if you will. This is something that he wanted to do and he thought was important. How do we handle ourselves when it comes to being vulnerable and mental health? He always Troy, he always had a message and a mission. I mean, it could be just a regular Tuesday. Malcolm was going to have a message and a mission.
Literally every time. Oh man.
All right, LeBron, I think that we've got Dr. J. Barnett from Just Hill, bro. If you could pull him up. I know that there's a collective response that people have had when it comes to really healing.
Quick question. Dr. J is not in the queue right now.
Okay.
Okay.
Who do we have in the queue?
We have Jessica.
Okay. All right. We have let's roll some video from Jessica because Jessica gave us some behind the scenes exclusive stuff in terms of the resident. So we're going to roll a little bit of those pictures, see Malcolm in action, and then we're going to hear from Jessica Mizell. She is from the resident. She going to give us a lot of insight about Malcolm and what he brought on set. So here we go.
Wait a minute.
Social media's gonna have a good time with this one. So I grew up.
Your billing with the Titian, non-existent.
I am aware. Good talk.
The Titian's a $2 million machine. Chastain needs to make a return on its investment.
Well, the former is not my fault. The latter is not my concern.
Your contract has a billing quota,
which I exceed consistently. Okafor, show them the numbers.
Why you gotta have those numbers?
Somewhere, someone's got numbers. Take a gander. Good talk.
All right, so a lot of people that have seen Malcolm on The Resident, they love that character. All right, let's bring Jessica up. She's coming. Hello, how are you?
I'm well, how are you?
All right, we are hanging in there, Jessica. I know that you have a lot to say. You were so excited to be on here with us tonight. We're really just going to open up the floor like we have done with other people tonight to share with us just some of your thoughts. Thank you for sharing those pictures with us. It must have been great to work with Malcolm, I can imagine, because you were very excited to say, bring me on tonight. Bring me on.
Yeah, no, I had the privilege of working with him for 5 seasons. And, as you know, he was a brilliant surgeon, and I was always his funny little scrub nurse in the surgery scenes. But something I've kind of been reflecting on since, I got the news, is, it's so, I don't know what the right word is, if the word is like strange or surreal, but it's such an odd thing to, and horrible to lose a former colleague and friend. And he was also my neighbor as well. We lived like just a block down the street from each other. But it's so strange to lose someone like that and then see them kind of in tabloids and all over the news. It's just a very odd experience, but it's also put in perspective for me his greatness. And I don't even know if he was fully aware of it, or if he was, he certainly, it never impacted the way that he treated people. I think that's the thing I was so taken by when I first met him, because I was nervous because he came on with us for season 2. And, you know, obviously I knew who he was, and he seemed like a great guy, but you just never know before you meet somebody if you're going to be disappointed in someone you admire. But my God, he exceeded my expectations. And I was so struck by his endless curiosity, and his warmth and his elegance. But mainly his ability to make me and others feel like an equal. I never felt like he was looking down on anybody else, and I don't even think that was something he had to be conscious of. I think it was effortless. I think it was at his